Alrighty everyone, it's your boy James, it's Grendel's Garage. We are back with the Zeda 100 Max. As you guys saw the last time, we got the new numbers. We added a base gasket, so it's not technically stock numbers, but we got the numbers that we're going to move forward with. If we were going to add another base gasket for 3, we would have had crosstalk, so we're going to go with the 2, which in turn is going to raise everything up about 1 millimeter respectfully, give or take. So with that being said, what we're going to move forward with is the exhaust to get the numbers for the width of the exhaust. The first thing I wanted to do is just get us at bottom dead center, so I had to go ahead and recalibrate and get us there exactly. If you guys want to know how to do that, watch the episode before that where I explain how to get rid of dwell time and all that great jazz. Alrighty, so we're at bottom dead center and just looking what our exhaust port looks like. Hopefully you guys can see. I'm gonna have to zoom you in. The quality isn't great for zooming in and stuff like that, but we're at bottom dead center and that's what our exhaust port looks like. We don't have the opportunity to completely clear it all the way down, which is unfortunate. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna make it a little bit wider. I did the math from my understanding of watching LA Hover's videos on his porting stuff, which I really do enjoy watching that because he makes it pretty simple. But what he does or says off of a website that he trusts and stuff like that, which I can probably look that up and post that, but you want 70% of your bore. So what we have is a 50 millimeter bore. 70% of that's going to be 50 times 0.7, which gave us 35 millimeters, and that's the max amount that we can go ahead and open up our exhaust. So I have us marked off on a piece of wire right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm gonna slot in a picture, ooh la la, right there. It's exactly 35. So what we need to do is take a pair of wire cutters, which I should have grabbed, didn't think about that. Now we have to go digging. Grab a good pair, and then we're gonna go ahead and snip that. I'm gonna go ahead and snip it over here so I don't send that piece flying in there. So I want to try to get that about as perfect as possible. Now that's max. Now when I mean max, if you go any wider than that, you're gonna get what's called piston ring snag. So we don't want to do that. So I want to leave just a little bit though, because we're gonna file it down. Oh, how'd we do? Oh, pretty good. Holy shoot. Hopefully that didn't go in there. Holy cow. Sounded like it did a 1-2. Anyways, so I'm going to take a file. Again, we'll do it over here. And I'm actually going to sand that down. I actually probably could have done a little bit more on there. But this takes a long time. I'll fast forward it, but it shouldn't take too long. So as you're thinking about getting this stuff ready, what you want to do is start thinking about the geometry, how stuff wants to flow, and all that good stuff. So we're just about there. I got this exactly at 35, so if we go a little bit more in, we'll probably be in a little bit more safe zone. So I'm just going to keep going until I don't see any more black. Long story short, guys, you really want to start thinking about how the air is going to flow. If you go ahead and take a look at that cylinder, I'll have you scroll back over right now. You can kind of see if we're looking on the left side of that port, it's closer to the transfer than it is on the right side. Might be kind of hard to tell. So to take advantage of that, to kind of help the airflow in general, why not go ahead and open it up a little bit more on the right side, since we have a little bit more meat to work with on that. Something to think about. One thing we got to be also aware is when we are cutting, we don't want to puncture into our stud bolt area. So we have to kind of look on the other side, kind of think about that kind of stuff, but that's going to be a little bit later. So I'd sand it down pretty darn good. I think you might just see a little bit of, just tiny bit of black on that, but that's fine. Let's see, I got my Sharpie. Hopefully it's working. Make sure. Okay, it's working. I like these ones the best. I bought another pair of Sharpies, but they sucked. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see. Another thing we got to think about is if that piston is at bottom dead center, okay, what kind of, I guess, what am I trying to say is, if we move this piston up, Okay, because that's the bottom. That's as low as it's going to go. If we did all of our cutting and if it was really low, it wouldn't necessarily have the best chance to lose, or excuse me, to expel all of that exhaust gas and kind of fresh gas mixture. So if we make the cut a little bit higher for our 35 millimeters max width, and we start getting a little bit sharper angle kind of an area, and this is kind of your judgment, you know, I don't have a degrees or anything like that. I'm kind of just going to eyeball it. I might pause you guys off camera and look at a couple degrees and then just kind of make a decision and include you guys. But right now I haven't put that forethought. I'm just kind of talking about like free eyeballing it and kind of stuff like that, just to get a feeling for it, because I don't always have time to come out here in the garage to do this kind of stuff. So you're going to do the journey with me. Anyways, I digress. So we have our wire. It's 35 degrees, or 35 millimeters exactly. And what we can do, and what I will do is take a piece of tape, and I'll do that before we get ready, because I kind of want to just get it ready off camera. We can stick that wire in there. Well, hopefully we can stick that wire in there. We can try to stick that wire in there without it falling off. That's why the piece of tape might be a bit better. I'm just trying to do it for example. Okay, I think it's just going to keep falling out. But we're going to go ahead and get that wire stuck on there. Probably bring the piston up. That's probably what I got. I think that's what I did in the past. Yeah, there we go. So we can put that wire in there, bring it down with the transfers, and you get your tape. Then you can kind of play where you want that 35 to be. You can cut a little bit to the left. You might want to cut a little bit to the right. I think, again, our majority of the cutting is going to be on the right side, because we can really open it up on that side and still have a little bit of material on that. Because what's going to also happen, guys, the more material that we cut out, the more performance we're going to get, the more heat we're going to create. Because we're going to have less material right in this area, right? Less material means less less material is going to be absorbing the heat. So something to think about, just something we do have to think about. That's why I think evening it out is going to help us in the long term. Honestly, probably going to go a lot more on, well, see, we can play on both sides quite a little bit. What I would try, honestly, what I'm trying to do, here we go, actually. We might just kind of see how that looks. Alrighty, I might cut you guys out while I get a piece of tape. Alrighty, we are back. We're going to give it the old college try. We're going to try with red. It does work. Now the debating in my head. Sorry these videos are probably going to be so long, but my thought process is, if you guys watch me struggle, you can kind of like, you know, get to where you need to be quicker. Because I'm only a novice, guys. I haven't even opened up an actual motor myself or done anything with seals or nothing like that. So remember, we're all learning. We're all just always learning. So I think it'll be easier to get this to our 41. Okay, we're at our 41. Give or take. Now, I'm just gonna eyeball it. I don't know. There's probably a way better way to get your actual. You could probably take the piece of paper and do your port matching on that. I don't know, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do my best with this kind of a setup. How did I do that last time without freaking it up? I was gonna keep dropping it in there. See? All right. So my thought process is I want to get that side about the same as the other side, so I'm really just going to eyeball it. Because also when I take the cylinder off, I can also kind of do like minimal adjustments as well. Okay, how does that look? Probably could go a little bit more. Wish that light was brighter. Probably could go a little bit more. Probably want to go a little bit more this way. Just a skosh. How's that look? Well, I'll be darned. That's going to be pretty close. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and make a... mark on top of it. Oh shit, moved it a little bit, so... I cannot get that tape to work, by the way. So I'm just gonna make a little mark above it. All right, well, roughly about that. Okay, so I'm gonna call that good. I kind of have it more pinpoint in my head. I know it's more of that mark right there. Then I can just go straight down, if that makes sense, to the black. I got a good mark right there, and then I can kind of eyeball it, but we do know that is our 35. So there you go, guys. Stay tuned. We're gonna go do a little bit more. We'll probably make our shape and all that kind of stuff off camera. I'll show you, and then probably make some cuts. I do think that we are gonna go ahead and drop the intake down a millimeter as well. It seems like there's good results with that. In the last port I did, I actually ended up skirting the piston, which is also not a bad move. But I think what it does is it kind of can play with some of the balance in the piston, which we are going to do some stuff with the piston, but that's going to be a little bit later. So yeah, I'm thinking about just dropping that, and we'll do that all at the same time. We'll make all of our marks and get all that stuff. So that's what we're going to do right now. Stay tuned. Alrighty guys, we are back. Got everything hit up with the Sharpie on the cylinder. We'll look at that here in a second. Just a quick little thing what I'm going to use in this process, because I've decided that I'm going to do everything off camera so I can just get a book going, zone out, do my thing, all that jazz, focus on the cuts and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, these are the bits, the grinders that I like to use. You can just get these off of Amazon, super cheap, super easy. I will be using a Dremel setup. You can see up there. I like to hang it down. I think it just gives me a little bit of, I don't know. I just kind of like it. It's a little bit easier than just having it sitting across the desk and worrying about the wire getting in your way. So this is kind of nice. One day I do want to upgrade to one of those rotary tools, especially for transfer work stuff. Anyways, what I use these for, these are little diamond ball tips. I use these for the very end process for doing chamfer work. Basically what you want to do is take one of these, and you want to, once you're done cutting your ports and stuff like that, all you want to do is hit around your entire openings and stuff like that to kind of get a little bit of the lip. You want it to get to where your finger just falls directly into the port, nice and smooth, and that's going to help your rings from snagging and stuff like that. So it really helps the longevity of your cylinder in general. So that, I know I started with the last process, but so that's the very last thing you want to do. I usually use like around like a bigger size than you think. I first thought you'd want to use a small size, but I actually end up using like kind of these bigger ones right in here, and it gives it a great little ledge. You can also use a file or a little bit of sandpaper. That's up to you. I use this. The Tin Man taught me that one. Then I go ahead and jump into these ones. Basically, these are double-edged cutting bits that I put on there. We have a variety of different kinds of shapes and stuff like that. These are super nice. I have two different sets. I think these are a little bit better, these carbide ones versus these ones. I think these ones are a little bit cheaper, but I do rotate between both. They do cut super well. You can get one-sided cutting ones, but I don't like to use those ones as much because they cut slower, but they cut more. They vibrate more, if that makes sense. These cut a lot faster, so you got to go slower, but it's a little bit more buttery smooth, if that makes sense, and you don't get as quite janky into the cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these to get the majority of the meat that I need to get off in the exhaust, which isn't a ton. It's literally going to be like zip, 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 zip. Okay, done. That's how quick this process is. It's just all the prep that goes into it and then not trying to screw up. Anyways, I'm going to take the meat and potatoes off with this guy. And then when I get towards the end, I'm going to go ahead and switch to these grinding stones. I do need to get some more. These are just some cheap ones I have sitting around. And basically, from my understanding, when you use these bits, they're great for taking off a lot of material, but what they'll do is they'll chip the chrome plating or the nickel steel plating or whatever kind of plating you have on your cylinder. These will do a lot more damage to that actual coating. So These do a little bit less damage. You're still breaking it at the microscopic level, if that makes sense. But these will kind of do a little bit less damage and keep it a little bit more intact. So the process is the meat and potatoes with these guys. Then we go in with the grinding stones. Finish it up, get exactly our shape. After that, we go ahead and hit it with our diamond tip balls. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the shape is. I took some pictures so you guys can get a better look, but that's basically it. The block on the left is our actual cut. I know it looks like crap, guys. I was struggling. Really clean off your oil. That's for sure. I was struggling to get those on there. So the black right there, and then the black on the outside on the right. All that on the red needs to go away. All the red needs to go away. So that's kind of what we're looking at the 35 millimeters. Next, we have the intake, which 1 millimeter, geez, guys, you don't really realize what 1 millimeter is. That's about 1 millimeter. So to be honest, with the intake, I might clean up the top a little bit. It's a little wonky up there, but I'm gonna use files. 1 millimeter, yeah, I'm gonna use files for that. Easy. And then I'm just gonna clean them up with the diamond ball tips, especially on this side. You can kind of see that there's a lip on there. I can feel it, especially on the top too. And then we're gonna do some research on some transfers. You can see these transfers are super jank. They're pretty bad, to tell you the truth. Look at those, I should have cleaned these up or tried to clean them up. That was way before I really knew what I was doing. Same thing on the other side. You can see those nodules sticking up at the very top in the middle where they meet in the middle. There's these weird nodules that go all the way in the back. Just casting defects. We're going to clean that up and we're going to try to improve airflow, and we'll talk about that later. So, alrighty guys. Then after all that's done, what we need to do is go ahead and smooth out the exhaust so we can promote better flow. What I like to do is I have these different grit little wheels. Again, something off of Amazon. They are super awesome. These are just different grits basically. And WD-40, put this on your Dremel and just high speed WD-40 and just let these do their work, man. It will super just smooth out this immensely. Then if you want to, you can hit with 1,000, 2,000 grit to get crazy with it, but that'll be pretty awesome. That's the super last part. But that's after you've washed it, that is the very end when you get that with 1,000 to 2,000 grit. Alrighty, everyone, we are back and we have had some success. I think overall, I went through and did some cuts up in the cylinder. So super excited. Probably a little bit tough for you guys to see right off the bat. Let me go ahead and grab a flashlight. That's usually the best take. Or actually, usually when I go up into there, that's usually the best take. So overall, I'm pretty happy. This port shape was a little bit more round than other ones I've dealt with or looked at. So I'm pretty happy though overall. You're gonna see some other lines. I already put it onto our stand and got some more measurements. The bottom line up there is bottom dead center. The top line is at 54 degrees for the transfer opening. I gotta get some better Sharpies. But now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the transfers and start thinking about that process a little bit. Maybe just do a little bit cleaning. I might drop the intake another millimeter since we added another millimeter gasket on top of, from my understanding, dropping it in general adds it 1 millimeter, and dropping another millimeter in general adds a little bit to it as well. So there's kind of a look at that. I'll throw some pictures in so you guys can take a look before we do some finite stuff. But like I said, I'm pretty happy with it. Just a different opening. Still have that Dave special with the mushroom design. It's a little bit fatter, but I think I got the spacing pretty darn good. It's a little bit shorter on this left side, but pretty happy. The transfers are going to be a challenge because I don't have any 90-degree tools to do the cutting. We might just have to use files. I have some special files that have different, I don't know, degrees you can say, or different bends and angles. So I don't want to screw too much with those, but I do think we're going to chop off some of this meat down here, which we'll do some measurements with the piston. Alrighty guys, Oh, one more thing. Yeah, we are gonna definitely chop into that, up into that intake. You can kind of see I was kind of playing a little bit. Maybe just, I don't know, kind of fun, something different. All right, guys, stay tuned.